Ukraine. This was the word I answered to the routine question of where are you from at the international student orientation. I didn't expect much of the reaction from the teachers or other students. Ukraine is definitely not the most famous country in the world. Yet, some people recognized famous soccer players and boxers. Someone else overheard about it from the recent news of revolution and war in my country. Yet, very few really had an idea of what is Ukraine or even where is it. Then the standard follow-up question came. Is it near Russia? Yes, near Russia, I answered. But wait, I thought, is this really how I want them to remember where I'm from? Dima from near Russia? No. That day, I figured that I have to do something substantial. Some substantial work over my next years at this college to make sure that as many people as possible would recognize where I'm from, understand what does it mean to be a Ukrainian, what it means to be from Ukraine, and finally, no one would double question the Russia into it. So hi, my name is Dmytro. I've been an ICSP member for the last 4 years, sharing and educating Ukrainian culture. This is me, and I am from here, and this video is about 6 most common stereotypes I faced in my time studying in the United States, or rather breaking those stereotypes. Let's begin. Stereotype number 1. The one I used to hear all the time. What is Ukraine, and is it Russia? Well, where do I even begin? While indeed our countries share some common history, especially in the recent years, it started quite differently. About 400 to 500 years differently. The city of Kiev, and yes, Kiev, not Kiev. City of Kiev was founded around year 482, though various sources may slightly dispute this date. However, since then, it has seen a lot of great and bad times. One may even argue too many of bad times. Yet still, it is 665 years earlier than the capital of the country many believe Ukraine is part of or a child of, Moscow. While our nations share common roots, I believe it is quite obvious where those roots are growing from. One of the most recent and well-known part of our common history is the USSR, the big red monster that have suffered a fate of many empires before it. And in 1991, the red flag atop Kremlin was put down, making communists all around the world a little bit less happy, while making 14 countries that gained its independence from the USSR a lot more happier. Yes, 14, not 15. I believe you may guess the outlier here. And yes, here is the one, the only, Ukraine. Beautiful, big, independent European country in which I was born, grew up, and still love, no matter how complicated our relationships may have been. But you still speak Russian, many would follow up. Well, the answer is yes, but not just Russian. As you can see from this map, there are certain tendencies in which languages people prefer based on where they live, with West being more Ukrainian speaking and East more Russian speaking, yet those are just tendencies. And despite what modern media like to highlight about the differences between those two sides of Ukraine, I can almost guarantee you that no matter where you go, people will be able to speak and understand both of those. But they are basically the same. I hear you saying, well, here I might say no. In fact, they are only 33% similar. To put it in perspective, Ukrainian and Russian languages are as similar as Dutch and English. And if you speak either of those, I believe you will be able to see the difference more vividly. Stereotype number 2. It is always cold out there. I wonder what could have caused such a stereotype. Maybe these pictures of harsh winters we have in Ukraine? And yes, trust me, there is nothing better than spending an hour of your time in the morning digging up your car, only to figure out that your car was actually parked next to it. Or maybe these pictures of the great celebration in Ukraine, when during wintertime people dig holes in the ice-cold rivers and lakes to dive in there for a bit, as it is believed that it somehow brings you more health. And yes, that is literally a newborn baby in the top left corner picture. But all humor apart, it is stereotypes. People has beautiful and diverse nature. Ukraine can offer all four distinct seasons, and each of them is worthy time to visit at. And to be more factual, temperature in Ukraine can vary from plus 42 degrees Celsius in summertime and down to minus 42 in winter. Yet 42 is the coldest record I was able to find, and trust me, there is nothing extreme about it. Just dress up to the weather and you should be fine. Stereotype number 3. Is it radioactive there? Well, this stereotype definitely has some clear origin. On April 26, 1986, the fourth reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant has exploded due to the mistake in testing procedures, causing more than 4,000 people dead and estimated 600,000 more long-term victims of this tragedy, as the atom is a slow killer. The pollution from the explosion has created a 4,000 square kilometers exclusion zone, in which up to date people are restricted from entering and especially living in. But while this is indeed one of the most devastating disasters of the modern times, the current impact of it shouldn't be over-exaggerated. In fact, when you look at this map, you can see that the scale of this exclusion zone is only a fraction of Ukraine and Belarus territory. And not only that, it is also one of the most famous places in Ukraine. Abandoned city of Pripyat is a unique site of the ghost city frozen in time, as people living their home didn't know that they will never come back, and live their life there as is. And while there are still extremely dangerous spots in this city, it has become one of the most visited tourist sites in Ukraine. Those people on the right picture are standing a few hundred meters away from the epicenter of the explosion, and the radioactive background out there is probably even lower than what you are experiencing right now. Mostly due to the fact that the territory has been cleaned and washed countless times, but also due to the huge structure on the background, that is in fact the biggest movable structure in the world. So yes, even you can visit it, and don't be afraid. Don't be stupid first of all, and then you should not be afraid. Stereotype number 4. You drink a lot of alcohol. What? I ask. Where did you get it from? But well, every stereotype has its reason. My belief is that every country and culture has their traditional alcohol drink. No matter how harmful it can be, alcohol is a part of a human social culture, and arguing against it is useless. The difference is what kind of alcohol is traditional to different cultures. And while Germany is famous for its beer, France is for its wine, our culture prefers something harder. The traditional Ukrainian alcohol is gorilka. Once again, not vodka, gorilka. One may argue the difference is not significant, but you better argue with Ukrainian at the fest, and I believe you will be proved to be wrong. But what data says? This here is WHO map reporting on total alcohol per capita consumption in the world. The darker the blue, the more people drink. And as you can see, Ukraine is among the lightest countries in Europe, if not the lightest. So while our alcohol can hit hard, it doesn't mean we cannot take the punch. And yes, once again, drink responsibly. Alcohol is bad for you. Remember it. Stereotype number 5. It is dangerous out there. Well, here I would like to jump straight to facts. According to Nation Master Statistics, we can see the following rankings. Let's compare Ukraine and United States, the land of freedom and justice. So for crime level, Ukraine is on the 36th place and United States on 30th. But let's adjust to the population, and after this, we see that Ukraine go down to 51st, and United States is at 22nd. Didn't work out that well, huh? Total gun crime, I think here stuff is pretty obvious. Rape rate, 49 against 9, and murder rate, 17 against 9. So, if you're right now in the US, run! It is dangerous out there. Well, I don't claim that this data is 100% correct, yet it seems that Ukraine is not as bad as many of my international friends has assumed. But as we already figured out, stereotypes must come from something. And I believe the most obvious reason is the military conflict in the east of Ukraine. And while it is indeed a tragedy for the whole country, how dangerous is it to actually be in Ukraine? Similar to Chernobyl, the scale is relative. Here on the map, you can see a territory occupied by Russian Federation as of March 2015. The war is happening in the line of contact on the east, and surprisingly, when you drive just a bit away to the west from the war, it is quite easy to forget that it is even going on. While I find it quite disturbing the fact that the people who live in the same country are experiencing radically different lifestyles, if you're to visit Ukraine, you're in complete safety. While stability is something that Ukraine has never been famous for, unless you go into the war zone, don't expect to be caught into the crossfire. Ukrainians are hospitable and lovely people. One may find them cold at first, but it is only because we open ourselves to the people we know. And if you're one of them, you will experience all of it. And fact number 6. Ukraine has beautiful women. In short, yes. But unfortunately, I don't have any pictures for you, so you have to visit us to find out yourself. Trust me, you will not regret it. So, what is the point of all of it? What is stereotype and what do we do with them? To me, stereotype is a lack of knowledge, and it is up to all of us to be open to learn and open to teach about it. And only if we all are open to each other, only then stereotype will stop being a problem and will just stay a humor.